This is Business Nigeria. The European Union has slammed a fine of $1.7 billion on Google for blocking rival online search advertisers. Now, it is the third EU fine for the search and advertising giant in 2 years. Google is accused of abusing its market dominance by restricting third-party rivals from displaying search ads between 2006 and 2016. In response, Google changed its AdSense contracts with some third parties, giving them more room to display competing search ads. The EU classifies Google's action under antitrust rules. Well, software consultant Idowu Akinde joins me in the studio to discuss this. Thank you, Idowu. But just before that, let me bring you up to speed. Google was slapped with this fine and investors didn't bat an eye. The stock rose 2% by the end of trading, adding nearly $17 billion to the company's market value. The stock rose 2% at the end of trading. It outpaced Apple and Microsoft for the day, adding $17 billion. This is the third fine for Google from the EU, and it seems that any initial shock of any antitrust threat is wearing off. It's not affecting them. We could see the shares. What do you see about this?
Well, from the business person's angle, the fine is 1% of their 2018 turnover. So, despite the fact that they've put out sound bites out there that indicate that they will take corrective action, nobody is really panicking. Investors are not panicking. The management of Google is not panicking. One just hopes that going forward into the future, they will ab initio adhere to things that will keep them away from.
I mean, one would say Google, yes, we know Google is a search giant, and with this that has happened, antitrust rules, breaking antitrust rules, would you say Google is afraid of competition?
Well, maybe not, but the question to ask any business person is whether the competition is significant or not. Through your own perspective, why enable them? That's just the question. This whole conversation, you know, when I was doing research about this whole conversation is very exciting, you know, especially looking at the culture that we come from around here. The maturity of the European market, of course, you also refer to things like the GDPR. Those markets are so mature that business people, competitors, are required by the regulators to play fair. Okay, so even when you are making your plans to be dominant, to be the dominant player in the market, you know that you have certain limitations, unlike other regions, you know, that we're very familiar with, where the market hasn't matured to the point where people are even protecting the health of the market on the macro level.
Right. All right, talking tech now, technology and not shares. Okay. What's the implication of this for Google?
Well, the implication is that on a technical basis, Google will have to modify their algorithm or do something to allow greater visibility for their rivals. That's just what it means. The engineers may be cursing under their breath as they're doing it, but they have to do it to comply with the law.
Okay, so what EU is actually beaming its searchlight on Google. How do you think it begins to act henceforth? Well, this was between 2006 and 2016, but what would you say going forward? Okay,
so closely related to that, there's talks of a looming 3% tax that the EU is planning to levy on tech giants generally. The four GAFA companies: Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. Okay. The other thing to look at is that these are largely American companies. Okay. So there's the tough stance that the EU is taking to protect not necessarily American citizens, but their own citizens from the quote-unquote runaway cowboy actions of an international company on their own citizens and residents. It's in the same spirit as the GDPR. It goes in that same line of making sure that just because you're a big international company doesn't mean you can treat our people anyhow. you know, so that kind of stuff.
All right, we'd have to leave it at that. Software consultant, Idowu Akinde, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And while